There we go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a fun guest today on the radio show. Lee Treadaway, somebody I used to work with many years ago. And Lee, I just love that story. Many moons ago when I used to work at Fuller and McKay, and before I ever met you, I felt like I knew you because Ken Fuller would say that he'd go shopping for groceries at the old Piggly Wiggly that was over there uh, behind what is now Stanley's. And
Right,
he would
in
say,
North Rome.
Kelly, I've got to hire this boy when he gets out of law school named Lee Treadaway. Every time he went there grocery shopping, your mother was your fan, brother. You got a good mother, don't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, she stayed after Ken until he really had no choice but to hire me at Fuller McKay. Those were some fun times.
They were
When
fun
we all
times.
worked together.
So
It was a
now
lot of
you're
fun.
you're doing elder law, is that right?
Well, I'm doing some wills and estates and
Okay.
trying to focus on elder law within that, and also a little bit on special needs trusts as well, which
Yeah.
there's a lot of overlap in that. Um,
Excellent. Excellent. So how many years have you been practicing now? It's been a while.
yeah, let's see. Gosh, I became a member of the bar in 2004, so 16 years. It goes by quickly.
Man, does it ever. Good grief, it goes by quick. So
Yeah.
where'd you do your undergrad?
Yeah, so I went to University of Georgia and got a business degree for my undergrad. And then actually worked um, for about 10 years, and then went back to Samford University and got my law degree over in Birmingham. Uh,
Excellent,
but yeah,
excellent.
undergrad was at UGA.
All right, so that's why you're a diehard Georgia Bulldog fan still.
Absolutely. Rough weekend last weekend, but
I know it. College
uh,
football can be rough.
it can. I know.
I'll admit it. I'm
Being
still
a
a
Tennessee
Tennessee
fan, you
fan.
haven't had it easy the last few years either.
It's been more than a decade, I think. It's been rough. It's been rough. I don't think they've been good since we worked at Fuller and McKay. Unbelievable. It's been a long time.
Well,
So now
couldn't
now
happen to a nicer group of folks.
no mercy, huh? No mercy from
Uh,
Treadaway. So tell me about you didn't go straight from undergrad to law school, right? You worked a little bit in between there.
yeah, I had about I said 10. I think it was about 9 years of working in between there.
Excellent,
Uh,
excellent. Where'd you work?
so for most of that time, I worked for a company in Calhoun, Georgia. Uh, the company was did woven textiles. So
Yeah,
I started out with a entry position in their product development area of all things, which was really not my background, uh, but did have a little bit of manufacturing management background from college, and moved into like supervision there. Uh, and I always knew that I wanted to continue my education and do something else.
yeah.
And
When did you realize,
so,
hey, I want to be a lawyer?
well, actually, so I finished my undergrad in, gosh, this does seem like a long time now, 91. Um, and about 2 years out of college, after my undergrad, I decided to apply and try to go back, then, and just the timing was not right, and you know, my grades the first year of undergrad were not probably what they needed to be. Scores were good, but wasn't able to go then, and but sort of always had that in the back of my mind to do. It was just, always had an interest in being a lawyer and learning more about the law. And so I took the LSAT again. And gosh, I guess it was 99 or 2000, and started back to law school in the fall of 2000.
All right. Very
So,
good.
yeah.
So now you're doing, estate planning, wills, estates, elder law planning. Um, tell me about your typical client. What kind of needs do they have, and how do you meet those needs?
Well, there are two areas right now that I'm trying to focus on. One is for older clients who want to plan for the possibility that they may need long-term care. And, obviously nobody hopes to do this, but wants to plan in the event that they had to go into a nursing home. And so there are some things that we can do with trusts that would allow them to uh, have assets held in trust, um, and that could go to their beneficiaries at their death and be used for their benefit if they were in nursing home care, but at the same time would not disqualify them from, for instance, the Medicaid nursing home program. Um, so it's a way to help folks uh, not really become impoverished if they, like so many folks, end up having to go into a nursing home.
So, like, can you tell me, like, what's the worst case scenario? Somebody does no planning, nothing. They go into a nursing home, and then what happens?
So the if someone goes into a nursing home and if they're self-paying, in other words, if they're just paying the total cost out of pocket, you're looking at minimal right now around $7,000 a month. Medicaid has a nursing home program. In other words, Medicaid will pay for a portion of someone's nursing home bill every month, but the asset limits that somebody can have are really low. So, for instance, a single person. So if you have a single person that goes into a nursing home, or a widow or widower, that person can only have $2,000 in financial assets. So anything over that, they're not going to qualify for Medicaid. And so, most people aren't going to have, at that age, aren't going to have $7,000-8,000 a month in income that would pay for it. So
Right.
you can become impoverished pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen where a lot of these nursing homes, they're not gonna, you correct me if I'm wrong here, but they're not just gonna accept anybody into their home. And oftentimes they require a joint signature of one of the children. And those bills can add up fast.
Yeah, and that's a good point you bring up. Sometimes, an adult child of someone going into the nursing home is going to be, they're going to be the person that's going to make sure the parent gets into the facility, and will often be the person that has to sign paperwork and all that. And those folks often think that by signing, they're just signing to have their parent admitted, but it's not unusual for them to unknowingly be signing to also be responsible themselves as well as the parent. And I have a case right now, our lady I'm working with, who her father passed away, and not only is his estate liable, to pay any money or assets that he had, she's also personally responsible as well. And, obviously, it was his care. So, it's fine that his assets are having to pay for that, but hers are as well. There are just so many things that people just don't know. And honestly, I think that most of the time, the social workers and the other staff people at nursing homes are trying to do as well as they can, but these folks, they're not able to know all of the applicable rules and laws concerning this as well. So, sometimes in helping a client plan, we also will have to help educate some of the staff at whatever nursing home is helping. It's helping them as well. Not always, but sometimes, we can help with that.
So the bottom line is, if you've got a parent who needs to go into a nursing home, you do not want to sign anything, like nothing. Am I right?
Well, you certainly want to know what you're signing. It may be necessary for an adult child to, for instance, sign on behalf of the parent. It's not unusual for someone to have appointed their son or daughter as their agent under a power of attorney. So it's fine to sign if you're appointed that person's guardian and conservator through the court, or if you're appointed an agent under a power of attorney, you can sign on their behalf, but you really need to know what you're doing before you're signing personally.
Right.
In other words, you want to make sure you're not personally guaranteeing essentially someone else's debt.
Right. I've seen a few cases where people have had to file bankruptcy because of this.
Certainly.
And it's sad because, the parent never in their right mind would have intended to put their child in a situation where they would end up bankrupt for their bill from a nursing home. And, you can't help but wonder, wow, maybe if they'd have gone to see somebody like Lee Treadaway beforehand, years beforehand, maybe that could have been avoided.
Right. And, it's important that folks know and remember too, that we have a lot more options and a lot more flexibility if planning is done before someone, falls into bad health or and is looking at maybe having to go into a facility in the near future. It's hard our options are very limited once somebody is headed that way or already in a facility. So it's important to look at the opportunities for planning, well in advance of something like that happening.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably see this. I know I see it where you have an older client who's like, hey, I'm in great shape. I'm fine. I do not need that mess. I'm never going to need it. That's what everybody says, right?
Well, we all have a sense that this could happen, but, it's never going to happen to me.
Right.
We all want to think that. And I think the biggest thing that most people have trouble with is often this planning involves placing assets in what's called an irrevocable trust. And when you do that, you're going to generally need to appoint someone else. It's usually going to be a family member. It doesn't have to be. It can be a trust company or an accountant or somebody like that, but you're going to have to appoint someone else to be the trustee.
Yeah.
And, while assets, while your trust owns these assets, you can't just go and take them back out.
Right.
And so there are ways to to undo that if something unexpected happens, but people don't want to give up or lose control. And sometimes that means we strike a balance between protecting certain assets that we know we want to protect and keeping some assets out of a trust that we think we might either want to be able to have direct control on and use or need. So
yeah,
some of it is we just don't want to give up, turn over to control to somebody. And unfortunately, what often happens is if we don't plan for it, then a family member or somebody like that has to go through the court system, a much more complicated process to get appointed to take care of things.
and more expensive too, right?
And it's more expensive, and it's, you've got a court proceeding. There's going to be oversight for that appointed person, from the court. So it gets a little more complicated and a lot more expensive.
I'll bet. So, I mean, it's just so important to plan. Let me ask you something. Do you ever have clients come in and meet with you? I mean, other than not planning, but do you ever meet with a client and you say to yourself, dang, I wish this person had met with me sooner. I would have told them to do blank and we could have avoided this huge giant mess. Like, for example, I meet with clients all the time and they'll tell me, yeah, I've been, making the minimum payments on my credit card out of my 401k money for the last 5 years. And it's just like, no, don't touch the 401k. It's a protected asset. Don't touch it. You run into that with elder law planning?
All the time. It's fairly typical that I'll get a call, usually from a family member, sometimes from the person themselves. They've got a debilitating illness. They can't stay at home. Most common thing that I see now, and really during my time in this practice, have been things like dementia and Alzheimer's, and so it just gets to the point where it's no longer safe for them to be at the home. The family is not able to be there, around the clock. And somebody calls and, their mom or dad or, have just been admitted to a nursing home, or they're going to have to go into a nursing home or long-term care facility. And hey, somebody said we might need to go talk to a lawyer about this, to try to do some planning or minimize, the amount of money that's going to have to be spent down before they can get some assistance. And at that point, there are things we can do, but our options are much more limited. And we just can't protect the amount of assets we can. But it happens all the time that people come in and, inevitably the conversation, usually they'll end up saying, wow, we should have come in 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Right. Right.
And
yes. So planning is key.
It is. It is key. And, I can just tell you there's just so much, and not just in my area, but really any practice area, there's so much we don't know. If we don't talk to an attorney or someone else who knows that area, but there's also so much we don't know.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I've learned about so many, like I told somebody the other day, doing this, I've learned about so many things that I didn't even know were a thing.
Sure. Yeah. So Lee, as an attorney, if I'm telling my clients, hey, you need to go see Lee Treadaway to get your elder care planning done. As an attorney, what do you think your greatest strength is?
Yeah. So, I really try to listen to my clients' concerns, and try to, make a recommendation for a plan and try to explain it to them, in a way that I'd want somebody to explain it to my father or my mother,
Sure.
if they were in this situation. So, I think, I don't know if it's a strength, but it certainly
Absolutely it is.
is a goal of mine. I want to create a, good rapport with my clients and, make sure I meet their need as best I can, but I want them to feel comfortable that that's being done.
Yeah. Yeah. I can testify, having worked with you for years, that you are easy to talk to. And that is definitely a huge strength, because there's some lawyers out there that, let's face it, they're just not nice. No bedside manner at all. And that is definitely not the case with you. Clients have always loved you. And I think you're in a great area to do that. So,
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you're from Rome, right? You went to
Yes, sir.
model high school. Is that right?
I grew up in Rome, went to model high school.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously still live here. My wife also grew up in Rome. Interestingly, we went to the same schools, but she was about 4 years younger than me. So we were not in high school at the same time. I did not meet my wife until, years after we graduated, but she was in my sister's graduating class and they knew each other growing up. So
how about that?
So that's interesting. And we've got 4 children, ranging in age from the youngest is 5, and then our oldest is 12. So
that's wonderful.
So we're, you know how that is, having a house full of kids, Jeff.
I know how that is. I've got, I've got five total now. Yeah. So
5, that's right.
Yeah. And it goes quick, man. Golly, it goes so quick. I mean,
oh, I know.
Those years just blow by so fast. And you grew up at North Broad Baptist, is that right?
Right. Yeah. Gosh, I think my family joined North Broad Baptist. When I was about 8, we left the church we were going to, and I've been there ever since.
How about that? That's where you guys still go now?
Yep.
Awesome.
Christy and I go there now, and my folks still go there as well.
Wonderful.
We haven't actually gotten to go there in several months, just like everybody else. But
I know this COVID
looking forward
mess.
to being able to do that again.
This COVID mess, it stinks. It stinks. Are they going to do the live nativity scene this year? Maybe not because of COVID.
No, we stopped doing that. I think about a year or so ago.
Yeah.
It was just a
lot of work.
Done it for many years, and people enjoyed it, but we just made a decision that we were going to kind of focus on doing some other things. And I think there's a time for everything, and unfortunately, or I won't say unfortunately, but it was just time to do something different.
Sure. So Lee, when you're not working, what do you do for fun? I know you like to fish. What else?
Oh, I do like to fish. I haven't fished in a long time. Normally we're honestly, if we're not at work, usually we're taking kids somewhere or spending time with them. My 9-year-old son, he played football for the first time this year, and
all right,
his season. Their last game was last night, and ended that up, and he's had a lot of fun with that, and it's been really fun, watching him learn the game, and going to practice and stuff. So
that's good stuff.
That's been great. I've got a 5-year-old girl coming up. I think she's gonna. She seems to be really interested in basketball and soccer, and seems like she's gonna have some ability there. And
wonderful.
We've got a ballet dancer. We enjoy watching her when she has her recitals as well.
That's good stuff, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Lee,
Is.
I appreciate you coming on the show. I look forward to taking your message and send it out to all my clients that if they've got anybody that needs a will or estate planning or any type of elder law in the Rome area, to give you a shout, buddy.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for having me on. Glad to hear you're doing this. It's a good service you're doing for the community. Just letting people know who's out there that can help in different areas. So appreciate
Yes,
you
sir.
doing that.
All right, brother. You have a great evening, and you enjoy those beautiful kids. All right.
You as well, Jeff. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.